All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the EAC meeting for April. Call the meeting to order. First up, approval of the minutes. Does anyone have any comments, questions, additions to the minutes?
No.
Nope. All in favor of approving the minutes? Excuse me, I guess motion. Who moves that we approve the minutes?
I'll move.
Don will
Second? Don seconds. All right. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Minutes are approved. Next up, project updates and discussion items. First up, litter cleanup. Anything additional?
Yep. We had part one of the litter cleanup on last Saturday, April 9th. About 34 people showed up. We had, I think the tally is 122 bags of litter collected. Since we started 4 years ago, our tally is at 1,450 some bags of litter collected. On Saturday, we had two groups from the Key Club at NA. We had Cub Scout Pack 279 picked up Potter Park. Representative McCurry had a group there, and Cindy Kirk had a group there in terms of elected officials. So we did Potter Park. We got Vincentian Fields done. Basically tried to focus on McKnight, Duncan, Babcock, Ingomar area. 5 police officers did a great job. DPW truck, great job as always, picking up the bags so they don't lay on the side of the road for more than a day or so. This year we're trying 2-part cleanup, so not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday, April 23rd, which sort of corresponds with Earth Day, which is the 22nd. You probably see a lot of advertisements or mentions that other communities are doing pickups on the 23rd to try to play off Earth Day also. I think the plan is still, this room is reserved that morning, so we'll be meeting at the pavilion in the back to get supplies and assignments. This time we're going to focus on Perry Highway, the McKnight interchange, the 2 interchanges with one with Ingomar Road and the other with Perry Highway. Get up the hill to the Wexford Flats, do that area. The Masonic group is scheduled to do Pine Creek Road under the Adopt a Highway program. Right now we've got about 20 some signed up. Hopefully we can get around 30. That's a pretty good number, a manageable number. One item that we talked about was the Little League cleaning up Vestal Park and the wetlands. I don't know if that was Don's item or Jack's item, or if I need to follow up with somebody, because we haven't assigned anyone to Vestal Park yet. And
Did they end up doing that scheduled cleanup?
No, they have not done it yet.
Because the lights
but,
were still down?
It's just been a mess down there. It's so wet.
it's
Okay.
wet, okay.
It's a swamp.
But that's still on their, still part of their program. So we would typically, if there's a family with small kids, assign them to an off-road area, and Vestal Park being one of them. So we will not assign
Well,
anyone.
no, that'd be fine if you assign it, and then I'll just get them to put a team on that same day. And
Okay,
then we'll just get it done. And
right.
because there's enough trash down there, believe you me. Matter of fact, if you are in the upper field and you look up towards Route 19,
Yep.
it's embarrassing. So I
It
don't
is.
know if we can figure out what we can do to force the town to
Yeah.
do something there.
I've picked up at the top of the hill there at the, on the
Mhm.
interchange side, and it's kind of, it would be easier to attack it from the bottom going up than the
Yes.
top going down. But maybe the kids,
Yeah,
somebody who's
Yeah.
not 65 years
the
old
goats.
can scamper up there and, pick up
Well,
stuff and.
I know I tried to get some hills on
Mhm.
Saturday, but it was just so wet and muddy.
Yeah.
I couldn't even.
There's no footing.
No,
to-
you just slide.
Yeah.
So some of the stuff, we got things right behind the guide rail and at the top of the slopes, but stuff further down, we couldn't get.
Right. Yeah. So the Little League, more advertising for the event. Dawn, you were helping out last time in terms of posting some stuff. Is that, can
Yeah.
that happen for the 23rd or?
Yes, so I know John was gonna go ahead and repost that. I'll go ahead and edit the graphic to just be about the 23rd now. And
Yeah.
maybe ask those same sites to repost it again if they don't mind.
Okay,
Friends of North Park, who originally didn't want to post it because their policy is to just post events that are happening in the park. And I totally understand if they let one event in, they have to let a bunch in, but they did end up posting our litter cleanup, which was awfully nice of them.
Okay.
But if we'll get back in with them again, but for sure, those other neighborhood groups, I'll update the graphic and send it out.
If when you want to contact Friends of North Park, let me know. I'm on the committee.
Yeah, this is the Facebook site.
Okay, our little litter task force has been pretty big on, pretty busy, organizing the event and everything. We have had some correspondence or back and forth with Senator Williams's office. They're working on some legislative action to implement some of the recommendations that are in the governor's litter action plan. So that is moving forward. We've took a bunch of pictures of McCandless Crossing, which to me is embarrassing. It's a real trash dump over there. Took a bunch of pictures. It's Mrs. Ropa's ward. We sent them to her. They got a letter written to the manager over there. I walked around this afternoon with the dog. It's not any better. It's actually a lot worse in some areas. But we'll see how that goes. That's kind of a code enforcement issue. Just there's areas over there that are just really bad.
So whereabouts in McCandless Crossing, on the main development side, or is it over on the?
Both sides.
Oh, really? Okay.
Generally, the buildings they created plateaus
Mhm.
for the individual buildings. The side slopes
down
of a
the
lot of
hills.
those buildings a lot of those sites are full of litter. Back behind LA Fitness and where the hotel is, you can see where the landscapers have just blown all the debris down the hill.
Okay.
You can see where some of the dumpsters are. Doodlebug's dumpster right behind their dumpster. It's all full of trash on the slope down below. The whole parking area for Texas Roadhouse is awful. What's Longhorns on the other side? Longhorn Steakhouse has a lot of trash cans in front of Chipotle and Panera Bread are always full. Just a lot of I've been walked probably in the last 6 weeks or so, and the same trash is there in the same places. So it's really not getting picked up.
If you list that out for me, I will have the town send them a letter and follow up. And if we need to send certified letters and enforce it, we will.
Okay. All right. We heard that Mrs. Ropa did that, but I'm not.
I know she sent
I haven't
one
seen that
for
yet.
and I'm not sure if it was both sides of the crossing, but I did talk to her about it.
Oh, okay,
And she had either was just gonna do it or had just done it.
right.
It
Right.
was in the process. So we know the ball's rolling, and we know that we've got enough people on council that
Right.
it will
that are
make
in
it an
favor of
issue.
that. The other thing you can see is if you're driving north on McKnight where CVS is, you can see the side slope in front of CVS is all full of litter. Behind the movie theater, behind the,
Okay, so everywhere. Well, because
Yeah.
I had done the roadside cleanup around those areas a couple of years ago.
oh,
And
okay,
at the time, there wasn't a lot,
Oh,
but
okay.
obviously it's a couple years later,
yeah,
COVID workforces, all that good stuff. So obviously things are deteriorated.
Lynn
So,
Atman had actually called me about that,
okay,
and she said at, I believe, the corner of Cumberland and 19, there's a bus stop there,
Mhm.
and everybody that's getting on the bus will just drop their
Drop
litter.
their stuff.
So
Yeah.
maybe there's some kind of a litter container that we can, as a town, put up
Well, I
there.
have a contact too with the Port Authority, I guess, for at least those, if the shelter is there.
Right.
Is it Gateway Advertising that has the shelters out here? I know they do downtown. I have a contact
yeah.
who's in charge of those shelters.
They have,
If
the
you
Port
look at-
Authority has told us before that they will not, I think John looked into that a year or two ago,
Okay,
that they won't. If there's a shelter, that's fine, but if a regular just pole with a bus stop sign, they won't provide a
Right.
trash container there. And McCandless Crossing won't do it either, so
okay.
then it's up to the town and. you
I don't
know,
understand why buses don't have a trash can on.
Yeah, well, people
Yeah.
drop it before they get on the
Well,
bus, I guess.
And
or-
we've got one in front of my office building. They did put a trash receptacle there because it was so bad and that people just still don't necessarily use it.
That same location, Jack, that's where the Cumberland and 19 is where the detention basin is. If you get out there and you can't see it from your car, but if you walk over there by the side with what's it called, the milkshake factory or something, there's some
Right.
tables there. It looks out on this detention basin. It's all full of, there's crates, there's a shopping cart, there's cardboard boxes, there's
Okay.
everything in there.
Okay.
I mean, it's just awful.
Okay.
Anyway, that's it. The 23rd, we'll be back at it again. Hope to see everyone there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sorry for
Once
going
again for
over-
setting, sorry, I asked the question.
Over my 2 minutes.
All right, next up, sustainability and the Capstone project. We don't have either Tony or Jonathan here, but they have both sent out updates to everybody. Just like to highlight the Capstone students presenting their project on, I think that's Friday, April 22nd. And I went ahead and signed up for the link. I did sit in on it last year. It's pretty brief. They went pretty much right on schedule. So I encourage anybody, if they can, sneak an extra 20 minutes or so out of work and tune in, it's worthwhile. They do a nice job.
There was a time given, right? It's kind of like an
Yes,
exact time.
10:40 a.m.
10:40 a.m.
And I'm trying to think, last year they may have been running a little bit behind, but it wasn't too bad.
What date is that? The 22nd?
The 22nd, I believe that's a Friday. Yeah, they run them, I think, the morning session runs 8:30 to 11:30. But our team is scheduled for 10:40 and you can just log into the Zoom link right at that time and watch them.
So-
I looked at those emails and there wasn't any real information there, so I didn't see it.
Well, there is it says link right here. If you look at Tony's email and the one that Jonathan just sent out, I'm not sure if it had the link or not.
What all did they do it on?
They did it on the new criteria for, because they were here last month
Mhm.
presenting. So it was digging up the new criteria for the sustainability certifications.
The thing that I picked up on was, one of the things we had in our 10-year plan is connecting the township, for pedestrians and stuff. And that seemed to be what Jonathan had sent out. That was one of the headers that they
Right,
had on
right.
that.
Yeah, they have,
That's caught my attention was, I wanted to see, I'm interested in what they,
I am too, but I'm interested to
Right.
see if they're going the trail idea or the sidewalk idea or
well, we'll
both.
see. It says that their deliverables, see the action plan, list of new criteria and suggestions for McCandless to achieve gold and platinum certification, transportation maps, a series of maps and preliminary cost estimates to give the township a starting point for planning, mobility, and pedestrian safety improvements.
Great.
Newsletter templates, a package of templates for the EAC to use for community education and gather support for sustainable PA certification projects, and grant resources. A compiled list of relevant grants that McCandless qualifies for that is cross-referenced against criteria they could be applied to.
Huh.
So,
That's
yeah,
great.
Jonathan has said they're really hitting a lot of this stuff hard and should have some excellent information for us.
just with the grants, like working with looking at the Wall Park Trail. I guess the county has a big grant that I emailed.
Yeah, you
all,
just sent that out this
and
afternoon.
I had the smallest grant is 150,000.
Yeah,
Right.
But between Wall Park and other stuff, I think, that might be able to help us. get
and
through
and
some
that's
of
the
this stuff.
engineer, the design and engineering amount, correct? Yeah.
Well, I can tell you from what I learned at Alon, to get these grants, you really almost have to have shovel ready. It can't be conceptual. It has to
Right.
be a little bit more factual
Well,
if you
but
want to
if,
win.
but
I
problem
know,
is,
you gotta
we're,
put the cart before the egg.
right, we're trying to get the design so we can get the shovel-ready project. And it seems to me, if you're just going for design, you're not going to have a shovel-ready
Mhm.
project. So,
We can
I
get-
found
we
that a
can
little
get the
tough.
list as far as shovel ready.
We just have to.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
and I think that's one of the next topics up, discussing those sorts of things. So,
So
just,
do they go to council also with this presentation, or does that need to be scheduled, or what do you think?
I don't think they did last year.
Oh,
They,
okay.
didn't they prepare a video? I can't remember.
Don't know.
I don't remember.
I wasn't there.
Well, there's four items.
Dawn knows. She
I
knows
know
everything.
we talked and Shelley had talked about them doing a presentation, but working that out with their school schedules and really by the time they get done these projects, they're done and most of them scatter and go
On
home
to
for the
something
summer.
else.
Right. They don't all live in
Well, as
Pittsburgh.
long as it's taped.
So,
is it
and
taped?
they did have something on video last year and I don't remember how far it went. Tony would know that. Jonathan would know
I
that.
know they had something, but I don't recall it.
But it was the same. They came to one of our meetings and did a presentation for us. But I think one of the final deliverables was a report and some sort of video.
Yeah, so there is a report. or,
Right,
You know, some
right.
record of what's.
Right. And
What they
according
come
to
up
their schedule here, their video presentation and final presentation are the 19th. And this sustainability symposium on the 22nd. So
Okay.
they're wrapping everything up next week. So that's what I had on that project. Next up is the Wall Park Trail / deer management, Ken's topics. Real quick, before you start on Wall Park, Kim Zachary approached me last night at another meeting and mentioned something about the deer management, follow through on deer management being handed over to us. Did you know, were you aware of that?
There's a series
Okay.
of emails and,
Okay, just making sure that wasn't a surprise.
I'll
to
cover that
anybody.
one.
Okay, gotcha. Fine, we'll save that for your report. Then Ken, go ahead. I don't know if there's anything else you need to say with Wall Park.
with Wall Park, it's been the two gentlemen that I'm working with on that, Mark Arman. He does the Rachel Carson Trail. He's the guy that's all the trails, but like they're spending a lot of time getting that ready for their big event.
Right.
And John Stevens is involved in that too. So we haven't, between the weather and trying to get our three schedules together, we communicate, but we haven't gotten out there to walk.
Mhm.
I have what John Stevens did several years ago is
Okay.
what this is. And when you're talking about shovel ready, this does have trails on it and things like that. It's not an engineering thing, but it's got, you know,
Okay, at least the concept and the vision and everything
Yes.
is set. Okay.
and I have the PDF of that I can send out if anybody's interested in it.
Yeah,
I would
sure.
like to
Yeah,
see
I'd
that.
like to see that.
So, you know, it's one of those things of what we've discussed is, you know, is we have a general idea of how we want to do to make an 8, you know, figure 8 and Mark is actually advocating some trails like around the ball field area and things like that.
Okay.
More extensive, more trails than we had originally envisioned. So looking at that and when you're doing the construction, we haven't really talked about how that would be getting done. But one of the things that they've done building the trails is they get an Eagle Scout to build the bridges and stuff like that around the wetlands and things like that.
Okay.
And so those are, you know, we're trying to work our way through, but it's a matter of the time and the weather.
Right.
And so we're still a work in progress, so to speak. And
Okay.
then today, Mark just sent me that thing about the grant from the county.
Mhm.
Bob was already aware of it, so, you know, that's good. With the whitetail management, with the suburban whitetail management, defer on that, but it's going into the second year and trying to get things moving along and moving ahead. It needs to have a home, so to speak, and to move things along. And just an aside by that, my neighbor called me up to the fence yesterday to chat, and one of the other neighbors had said, how do we get more hunters in here? Because it's not unusual for me to have 10 deer bedded down in my backyard.
Mm,
And they're emaciated. They're eating myrtle this year, which I've never ever seen them eat myrtle before. Anything green they're eating. I'm amazed at what they're
Yeah.
eating. They have daffodils is about the only thing they haven't touched.
Right.
So there's interest there. It's just a matter of how we get the public drawn in so that we can get more participation, more of the private property owners participating. In my neighborhood, would be a classic example of what needs to be done. It's, you know, all the landowners, because no one has a huntable site
On
of their
yard.
own.
Yeah.
But getting the neighborhood together to allow that, at least to allow access, is how we're going to get ahead. So that's going to be some PR work and trying to get, you know, local communities, meetings and things like that. That's all the further I want to go with that.
Okay.
So Wall Park is a work in progress, and there's a lot of things going on with the suburban whitetail.
Okay. Are we going back for some of those other grants we went for last year that we did not get?
We haven't gotten to the point, and the
Okay.
comment Mark made with because he's involved in a very large scale doing this.
Yeah.
And I've known Mark for 30 years, so he's pretty open and honest with me. He goes, you'll never get one of those grants.
Just based on have they gotten any of those for Rachel Carson, or he just
He
knows
didn't-
who gets
he
them?
just- He just knows how
Okay.
they do that.
Okay.
So
he's
that
helping
wasn't,
us-
that's,
helping us find ones that we do have a chance to get. So I would assume that they've gotten something over the years with.
when he has a
Rachel
chance to
Carson.
sit down and,
Okay.
again, he's
Okay.
you know, he's being caretaker for his dad and working a full-time job and, you know.
And cutting all the
his-
trails and
Yeah.
for Rachel Carson. I understand.
Make a comment about, I did talk to one councilman from another area,
Okay.
and they told me that they have these shovel-ready projects because a lot of legislators, they get to the end of the year and they still have money to spend, and they haven't spent it.
Okay.
So that is the best time to try to get something through that's been on the cusp, you know.
When you say
And that's-
legislators,
That's
who,
this time of the year too. This is when we're coming, July
Okay.
1's fiscal year.
we're talking town councils or these?
No,
like
I'm
the-
talking about
the
your
representatives?
legislators and your
Yeah.
senators. You know, they
Okay.
have a pot of gold, so to speak, and they divvy it out. And sometimes they're sitting there going, oh boy, I have extra money. What do I do with it?
So how do we,
And if they don't spend it, then
They
don't get
lose it.
they
don't
lose
get
it, right,
next year.
right. So how do we get in on that?
You call your legislator. But the thing is, right now, we're in the process of changing all them. So
Yeah.
the rules
they're-
are
They're
somewhat,
all
skewed.
worried about elections.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, being worried about elections could help us too.
So this trail is not something that the town just wants to pay for.
Are you
Is that
kidding
right?
me?
Yeah, I'm asking the question.
The reality is when.
Didn't we got $2 million of
Yeah.
relief money?
When John Stevens and I talked about it back at this iteration 4 years ago, if we're just putting in a hiking trail, we got waylaid when Toby wanted to go to a trail that moms with their baby carriages could get on.
Right.
If you're just doing a hiking trail, mountain bike trail kind of thing, John Stevens uses a group that they're convicts that are out of prison trying to get established
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And so one of the things they do is build trails. And he thought it would be $20,000 to $30,000 to build it. That's a rough trail, but there would be a trail there. It could be then upgraded, So that's just the ballpark number.
To your
Which
point.
version are we pursuing? For grants, grant wise, are we pursuing the $20,000 to $30,000 version or the Toby version? When we apply for the grants?
When the grants that they applied for and we were turned down on, we were doing the Toby end of things. And the town engineer had come up with a number as high as $500,000.
Maybe that's it. We start with the $30,000 trail, then you have it. And then say,
Mhm.
here's our plans to expand it and then reach out.
Upgrade.
Right, and I
Yeah,
think that's
upgrades.
where you're
That's
you've been
where I'm-
going, yeah.
That's how I would proceed. It's just me.
I'll fight for the money, but I'm doubtful.
I don't understand why we're so poor. I can't understand it.
They're tighter than a wet bongo drum.
That's funny.
Okay. Okay, anything else to add on those then? We good? Okay.
Well, actually, on the deer, I had another comment. I was wondering are there any of the requirements that can be relaxed or modified to get more deer hunters on private property?
The hunters really aren't an issue. Part of the issue last year was because I made a big point that people that hunted in Wall Park should be given first chance to be one of the suburban whitetail hunters.
Yeah.
And the gentleman that took advantage of that then didn't follow through with hunting the way you're supposed to for suburban whitetail hunters. They didn't put the hours in. They were out there trophy hunting rather than shooting mature
Okay,
does.
right.
And so they will be eliminated from, and so as we go forward, we will be able to have hunters that are out there trying to help us manage the deer herd.
I was thinking like a smaller property. You've got, a property owner has to have so much.
No, they
Land.
have a permit from the state that they're allowed to go in and see. Currently with a bow, you have to have 50 yards from an occupied residence.
Okay.
But they have a dispensation from the state with property owners signing off on it, that they're aware that they would be hunting in less than perfect environment.
Oh, okay.
So
That's not just for suburban whitetail hunters. Like my neighbors have all given me permission to shoot deer around my house there.
Okay.
It's just, I can't shoot my pets. I see them every day. So it's hard for me to see a deer
Yeah.
give birth to a fawn and be
Yeah.
out there for, and then go shoot. That doesn't work real well for me.
But if someone else came in, you'd
But
let
if
them do
somebody,
it.
and one of my buddies was gonna do that last year, and then some life changes that couldn't occur.
Good thing you're not a cattle rancher.
Direct them over to
That's my
McKnight
story for
Road.
you.
They'll get, the,
I don't want to hit them.
the herd will be called.
Okay, we'll move
Yeah.
on to stream cleanup. Is there anything new to report, Jack or Dawn, on?
We'll let
potential
Don
stream
handle
cleanup?
that. We had
Okay.
a discussion about it earlier.
Yeah, Jack and I, this is all my fault. We haven't gotten to put as much work into it as I had hoped by this point, but we have chit chatted. We're still kicking around which time of year might be best. But I think if you're sort of thinking that we might focus in, and correct me, Jack, if we haven't arrived. I think you agreed with me yesterday on this, that I think we're going to focus in on maybe the area of the Creek Vestal, along Vestal Trail there that the town actually owns. That way we don't have to worry so much about the homeowners, but what we'll do is also still have the town send a letter out to those homeowners that are between Oak Ridge and Minot, that section of Pine Creek, and encourage them to come out on that day and, clean up anything that might be in the creek. I know they keep most of those neighbors keep a pretty good eye on the creek as it is, but if they have any litter they want to collect up, we can haul it away for them on that day. But I think we're going to focus, like I said, on the Vestal Trail section of the creek as far as the cleanup goes, because that's where there's a lot of big debris, construction type material and things that have collected from previous floods.
Right.
'Cause
Well, and that makes
there,
sense.
no one cleans it up.
Started with the smaller focus, an area that we have more control over, and kind of learn and go from there. That makes sense.
And honestly, I just don't see us getting tons of volunteers. Dave can attest to the fact that it's a lot of effort just to get even 20 people to come out. So there's a good bit of litter along the stream bank, between the trail itself and down to the creek. So we can have, some volunteers working on land, and we can have some volunteers in the water. And then we're still spitballing on some other ideas, like, potentially maybe some invasive species removal, like there's a lot of multiflora rows along the trail that people that maintain the trail keep cut, but it goes all the way down to the creek bank. And so, we could do some removal there and that sort of thing. So we're
Don
still
also
spitballing.
brought up the point that there's a lot of poison ivy. So
Yes.
that's got to be built into this equation.
Right.
Thank you,
Point.
Jack. That is something I forgot to mention. The poison ivy is huge, especially down by the Wooden Bridge area.
It's hard to kill.
I catch it if it's even, I catch it fairly easily, so I have to be careful, but,
I've never, it's never bothered me, but
oh, Judy, I wish I
Don't
had.
say that.
I knocked on whatever wood I could find. But I don't need to dive into a whole patch of it to find out.
Yeah,
When I did tree work, if there were bees in the trees, that was the other guy's job. If it was poison ivy in the tree, that was my tree, because I hardly get it. But it's very difficult to kill on the ground because it's a vine. You spray the leaves here, but because this part's still alive, it gets through it. So it's very difficult to control.
Okay. Thank you very much for the update. Next, you're up again, Dawn, with your EAC annual conference report. I see you just emailed.
yeah, that's really just to get that out. I didn't expect that, that's not what I'm going to cover in tonight's meeting, but I did promise you all that I would forward the link to the different videos and presentations. So I did that tonight. And I listed out just a couple thoughts that I had, but I had mentioned to Judy that there are a couple things I wanted to mention that I think we should consider in the video session where they focused on the highlights, some success stories of various EACs across the state. A couple of things stood out to me that we might want to consider. A couple of the speakers talked about how to build your EAC and build capacity and how to establish one. But one of the things that they mentioned that really caught my interest was potentially opening up the EAC membership. We would have to change our bylaws to allow for what they call associate members. And these are people who don't have voting rights. They're not required to attend the meetings, but they're more project-based help, and they really just serve for a year. And they said that this allows people that have particular areas of expertise or focus or passion to, come in and serve in that area. So they talked about how, some folks that are good at grant writing, maybe they come in and all they do is help with grants for different projects. Other folks maybe are stormwater experts and they focus on those kind of projects, that kind of thing. But the thing that really caught my interest there was they mentioned some of the EACs were talking about what a great experience they had with having a high school associate EAC member. And I know town council in the past has had a high school associate town council person. And that seemed to go well for both, I think, the student and for council. And so I thought that is something that we might want to consider, maybe trying to court a high school student as an associate member. And that would really, I think, also help pave the way towards continuing to try to build a relationship with NA school district and the other local schools. If we get, and that's one of the things that they sort of highlighted, was that it can be very tough to sort of break into school districts and get the volunteers, because so many organizations are looking for high school students to volunteer for things. So that, there's a lot of choices for the kids. But if you get children who, some kids that are intimately involved in the EAC, then, you'll see a lot more involvement volunteer wise for some of your other projects. So I thought that was something that we might want to consider. And then something else really small that I thought might be impactful on the recycling front was one of the EACs was doing a single-use recycling collection. They had started out doing a recycling bin at town hall where they collected the batteries. There's a program that you can work with where you send it away, the batteries away for recycling. They work with EACs and municipalities. But of course, what happened was that folks were dumping anything in the bin, garbage, all sorts of trash. So it can become unpleasant to have to maintain those drop-off bins. And I know I can speak from experience. My son and I cleaned out the fishing line recycling bins along North Park the very first year they got installed. We got roped into that by Robert, the snake guy. We're friends of North Park. And it was horrible. People put all kinds of nasty things in there. So anyway, yeah, you can't trust people to recycle appropriately. But what I was thinking was, we have the McCandless Days event. We have hopefully Winterfest again. We have the garden and the park events. We have some events where we're going to be there. We're going to have a table. So I thought maybe we could consider doing a single-use battery recycling program where we just collect at those events and take on the responsibility of getting it to a recycling facility. And then also maybe creating an education piece, because that was what was brought up during the conference, that, recycling sort of isn't enough, but sort of encouraging people to move away from single-use batteries. So we could put together some talking points there, and we could create like some sort of like a flyer or something, but I'm more about QR codes. Like we could QR code something up onto the McCandless and Me site so that we're not handing out paper. But so single-use batteries, the associate EAC member, and then help me out, Judy. What was wasn't there a third?
Had a third one, yes.
Yeah, here, I've got,
Amphibian crossing?
what was that?
Amphibian crossing?
Yeah, let's come back to that one later. Let's come back to that one later. Oh darn. I have so many Post-it notes in my notes that my Post-it notes don't mean anything to me now. I apologize.
I mean, I think we could spend a few minutes talking about your first two items.
Oh yeah, if you want to chat about them now. Yeah, that's great. Let's go ahead.
I think, Jack, do you have any idea how likely it is we could go with an associate member like this? I mean, number one, do you actually have to have applications and you have applicants and interview and pick somebody? Or I would think that's what you would do.
Mhm.
Yeah,
What would we have to do?
I
know
don't
if
think,
that's-
we're our own group. I have no problems. I'll run it by everybody. I don't think
Okay.
anybody'd have any problem with that.
Yeah, would you mind doing that and
I'd be happy to do that.
seeing?
In
if-
in my days at North Allegheny, the guidance counselors knew students and what their interests were,
Mhm.
and they would basically pick a student that would be appropriate for whatever the task was.
Okay. Because I know you guys are working hard to try and break into contacts with the school district, and I think that's a great way to try and get us in there.
Maybe that's the best way. Instead of interviewing, just talk to the counselors,
Guidance counselor.
get them to do the heavy lifting.
yeah, I wanted to reach out to Kim Zachary to find out how we went about getting Jack, do we still have a high school council?
We did, yes.
Yeah, so I wonder, maybe John, do you know? How we,
Yeah, when we did that, it was publicly advertised, and plus we would try to reach out to, guidance counselors at some of the private schools around, but I don't know what the follow through on that was versus the actual public, ad.
I like the idea of using the counselors because they can advertise in school and they'll reach the kids. We try to advertise Katie by
Yeah,
the
right.
door.
Yeah.
So I'll talk it over with council.
Okay.
I'll bring it up as new business at the next meeting and see what their thoughts are on it.
I think that's a really nice,
It's a great
yeah.
idea.
I mean, it's really not much work on our part other than the front end, making the contacts. And
It
then
might
just-
really net us some good help
Yes.
for our
Sure.
I think
cleanups.
it will. There's some kids that are really passionate. I know those Key Club kids do a great job every time they come out.
Well, and I wish we had a student sit in on one of our meetings, I'd say this time last year, just to see, and I wish I don't know, maybe if I go back through, I'm sure it's back in the minutes. I know we had a student sit in on one. He just.
I think that was our intern, James, actually.
Oh,
So he
was
was
it?
already involved,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
in
okay.
the
I thought
efforts.
it was just a, okay.
I tell you what, John, I'm happy to put together the list of the guidance counselors for the various local schools, and this will cross over nicely with the work that Matt and Tony and I were doing. We've started to put together a list of some of the different clubs at some of the schools that may also produce some potential candidates for an associate member. So I'll finish getting that list together and include the guidance counselors on it, and then share that if we are going to move forward and reach out
Okay.
on that.
No, I think
I'm
that's,
thinking it would require us to change some of our verbiage.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure it would require an ordinance, but we would, because we have so many people assigned, et cetera.
Mhm.
So we would have to do a little bit of paperwork.
Okay.
and I tell you, Jack, they the EAC that did the presentation, I'll get you the language. They had like a suggested template for the adjustments you'd have to make to allow for
Oh, okay.
these, to allow for an associate member. So I'll get that. I'll get that.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Don.
Mhm.
I think with,
Sorry, I was just going to say one other thing we may need to consider, and I don't know if this is an issue or not, is that if the associate member is a minor,
Good point.
we may need to address that in some way. We may need
Clearances,
the parent
yes.
to be there, or a clearance for somebody in our group, or something along those lines. So
I have them. If I
yeah,
have,
that may be it. That may be all we need.
and that's why I always have Key Club members at the litter cleanups, because I'm a
Excellent.
veg outdoors volunteer, so I have to have clearances to
okay.
lead.
And,
trips.
and,
So-
and I have part of my clearances. I need to finish doing that. I will do so. So that could, we can,
Right, but that's a very good point.
yes,
But
that is a very good point. And I had,
That would have to be reviewed by town council to
Okay.
but presumably it's, we're able to do something with that because we do have the high school council person. So yeah, we'll have to see how we have to work around that.
Right, or if, I would have to register through the school or anything like that. Okay.
when you were talking about the associated groups and things like that. That's kind of how I envision the suburban whitetail hunter, the deer management, because there are people other than on EAC that are involved in that. And so that's kind of one of those things that's how I envision that being, is people that are associated with us that are because of the whitetail management end of things. So that's going along with what you're talking about of
Mhm.
having groups associated with us that aren't directly part of us. But I'm a little out of step there. So, but that's just my vision of where I would see that going.
No, I agree. That's a great way. And that the whole point, they said really of the associate member was really just to sort of help build up your EAC. A lot of folks are turned off by the 4-year commitment and the voting and all that, more casual kind of commitment sort of adds more people to your roster for,
Okay.
yeah, so that would,
Is that one of the
that's more
recordings?
information. Since we're interested, I'll get us more information.
Oh, that's great.
Same thing with the litter folks. I mean, they're just, project, you mentioned
Yes.
project based, so that's who they would be. I was
It's
wondering,
nice.
Don,
It gives a little more recognition, a little more, they said it gives a little more, authority to the work that those folks do for the EAC and.
right. I was wondering if you, did you get a sense of, like, we have a 7-member EAC, is that normal? Is that?
Yes. That seemed to be pretty consistent from what I was hearing from the other EACs.
Because the other thing with associate members, I mean, I'm disappointed anytime we turn someone away,
Yeah.
who's
Yes.
who's
I know.
not a nutcase of, or, have some goofball attitudes or something like that. I don't like turning anybody away. And we've turned people away that could
Yes,
serve on this
yes.
committee, or,
Agreed.
if we were not 7 members, but 9 members or something like that. I just don't like turning people away and then, they disappear for the next 10 years. They get, they may not ever reapply. So
Yeah.
I think that's a way of trying to,
Structurally, I think you need to have the 7 members, which was originally each ward
Each ward.
in
each
in
ward, right?
McCann's. But having people that are associated with, like with the deer management, with the litter and other projects like that. Because most people that are coming in have a special interest.
Yeah.
And if we can,
No, I think that's a great way to kind of solve my little issue that I have with, membership and folks, qualified folks not getting on the committee. So anyway.
Well,
that's-
we can
sounds
engage them.
good.
They just limited access, so
Right.
make them.
And they can always come to meetings.
I know. They can always come to meetings.
I know not being able to vote, but
Yeah.
it's been so long since we've had somebody else come to a meeting, trying to, I guess their participation is normally limited to.
Maybe we should give
comments
out
at the end.
participation awards.
And it's not like we vote on,
We don't vote on that.
we don't vote on a lot anyway, so.
Mm-mm.
Any-
Okay.
Those are all great ideas, Don. That's
Yeah.
awesome that we're able
Well,
to get.
I tell you, really, that conference, I hope you all are able to jump in and really watch some of those videos, because there was so much good stuff. And to be honest with you, I was not able to sit through the whole conference. I knew it was recorded. So I sat through the energy one. It was so over my head. I really hope Tony and maybe Jeff or anyone else that has an interest there can watch that. Maybe you, Matt. But they had a green infrastructure and seminar that I really wanted to watch and I didn't get to watch, and the forest, air and water restoration ideas. And, there's a lot of good stuff out there. So I'm hoping you all can jump in.
Yeah, and what my takeaway last year was just some of these committees, especially most of them are out east. I don't know, when I did it last
Yes.
year, it was me and somebody from Cranberry were the only ones from Western PA. and everybody else was from out east. But some of those committees and councils just do some amazing projects. I sat there wondering where they got the money, but go ahead.
I think my third thing just came to me. Thank you, Judy, because you just helped me with the cranberry reference. So something else that came up that we might want to consider was some of the EACs, those ones out east mainly, we're talking about how they sort of have created some regional EAC networking events where they get together maybe once or twice a year. And so these are, municipalities that pretty much butt up against each other. But they get together and they end up collaborating on a lot of things and sharing a lot of ideas. And I thought that is something, the Cranberry folks were at this year's event and presented again on the air monitoring that they're doing in conjunction with CMU, which is very interesting. Again, a bit over my head, but very interesting. Hoping somebody else will dive into that. Not really my thing, but it would be cool if we did that. But so they're very active. So we could definitely collaborate with them. And I know the Franklin Park folks had reached out to Dave. So maybe it's worth us considering potentially hosting, some sort of just a get together, even if it's just for an hour, just to meet and greet kind of a thing. Have one or two dinners.
Yeah, I've worked some with Hampton, and we had some collaboration with Ross there
Ross
when they
also,
were
right.
starting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
is
Ross.
great. So they're all active committees, and we've been in touch, and I think that was one of the items in the whole sustainability. That was one of the items from the lists from last time, was reaching out and having involvement with
Oh,
other
yeah.
EACs.
And we had to document,
Mhm.
how we.
So that's something we can
I
add.
wonder if
towards
we
our-
could convince Cranberry to host that. They seem to be pretty established for a while now. Maybe they could have the bandwidth to.
So I think the old Hampton's probably the
Hampton's-
oldest one.
Hampton's the oldest, most.
Yeah.
Is
established.
Hampton?
I
So
just
maybe
want
they
to
could host it. Do you
throw
guys
one
have?
thing, Don.
What's that?
When I was at the ALOM conference,
Mhm.
somebody from Ross Township came up and said, "Thank you very much. Your town helped us create our EAC committee. We modeled ourselves after yours."
Aw.
Really?
So congratulations.
I don't think that was me. I know we had several of them sit in on our meetings, and I remember feeling bad because one of them, they sat in on, it was my very first meeting as chair, and we had 3 new members, and that meeting went like 2.5 hours long.
And I wasn't at that one.
So I'm glad they had a good takeaway.
It was a
from
good
that.
experience.
That's great.
It's the only meeting I've missed.
No, I think that's a really good idea. Let me
Yeah.
need to think on that one, and who can we
You know,
approach? 'Cause
Maybe we could even have it at North Park sometime over the summer, so we could have it outdoors and,
meet at a grove, like you said, a meet and greet.
yeah, just do a potluck or something, just chit chat, just
We
swap
got a
it.
grove right here.
Yeah, we have, that's what I was gonna say. Can we get our own?
Oh, yeah, our pavilion.
If you want to do North Park, let me know. I'll talk to Andy and we'll get a spot.
Okay.
I feel bad. Matt, do you need to talk before you jump off?
Oh, that's right. You have to
8:30.
leave. I'm sorry.
We're giving you
didn't
2 whole minutes.
No, that's okay. I mean, I don't want to rush through other stuff either. So if you've still got more, please,
No, go
please
ahead.
continue. I can.
No, that was pretty much the last on the list for project updates. So you would have been next up.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to report at this point. I want to apologize first of all for not being at the litter cleanup last week, and I won't be at the next one either because my work has decided to start sending me traveling again. So I'm going all over the place. I'll be in Albuquerque next Saturday. So, but also because of that, we haven't had a chance to actually reach out to the school district yet. Don's still investigating some contacts there. We do have that list put together, and I do think we have about a dozen clubs that we can be reaching out to that are all environmental clubs at the various schools, the intermediate and the high school, and even some in the middle school level. that I think we can possibly be, getting some good interest from those students and possibly those sponsors as well. So my hope is to get that together and be reaching out to them in May would be my hope at the latest, and then hopefully catch them before summer starts and get that process going for potentially, planning into the next school year type of a thing. But that's essentially where we are right now. So there's not a whole lot to report on that.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I
Right,
also apologize for having to jump off, everybody. But
That's-
I will catch up. I will catch up on the recording when it is sent out. So
Okay, thanks, Matt.
thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Take
Matt.
care.
Yeah, I think the middle school is a great idea because then you can maybe, you've got these kids for, 3 or 4 or 5 years rather than the Key Club. It's usually,
It's ninth and 10th graders. That's
Yeah,
pretty much
and,
it.
If you get one from each grade and they can progress through, you have some continuity.
right,
with
yeah,
kids too. So you can have a kid that's on there for 3 years, sophomore, junior, senior, and they're able to help, as they're a senior, they're able to help the younger people so that you have some continuity.
yeah. I'm just thinking with our Key Club volunteers, it's usually, we get them once and then that's it. We don't,
Yeah,
we don't get them for multiple
but
events.
those kids have so much, so much on their plates too. So, okay. All right. Was there anything else we needed to finish up with, Dawn? I don't want to cut you off.
I mean,
think we're
I had another thought, but it left again, so.
That's why we call you brilliant. Flash.
I appreciate that, Jen.
Okay, and I'm going to follow up on this regional EAC network. I'm going to contact the folks I know at the other ones and just throw the idea out there and see what we can come up with.
Yeah.
So,
Just have a picnic.
yeah, I think.
Yeah, I don't think
start
it
with
needs to
something
be
easy.
a formal event.
No.
It's just a kind of a,
So I'll see what I can,
Like you
what I
say.
can do.
meet and greet
Okay, and
with some food.
right. Community outreach, STEM programs, we just did, speaker series event. We're set for May 24th. Tony's working on the program. We have our publicity flyers. I know Dawn, you had asked for those. I sent those on to you. I know, John, I saw there's one posted on the door
Mhm.
out here coming in, so I'm assuming that'll start showing up at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's on Facebook now to start.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see it. Okay. I will look and so we have all the links we need and yes, Dawn? Did you have something?
I remembered now. Thank you. Again, you reminded me. I think this was something you and I had chatted about, but if I did talk about it at last month's meeting, just shut me down. But I think I had mentioned to you, Judy, that we might want to add as part of the speaker series, or maybe I mentioned it at the last meeting, come out and meet the green spaces and walk with like members of the EAC. Did we talk about this already?
I think so.
Group, or was it just Judy and I?
I don't remember.
You spoke it as a group.
I
Yeah.
think so.
We did it
Yeah.
as a group.
Mhm.
And I'd be more than happy to take people on a hike through.
Okay, so since we have really good weather coming up with the spring and summer months, do we want to think about the order of things? Like, do you want to pick which month and you'll get us a date, Ken, for Wall Park? I'll take Potter Park and or the Vestal Trail.
That's
Well,
really,
Gonna walk that with the NAEC again or no?
I'm still, I'm
We
kind
were,
of,
weren't we? Mhm.
we were going to, we had a whole series and that was my next topic to discuss, because we were going to do the Streamscapes program and leading up to that, they wanted to do another walk of Vestal and Pine
Okay.
Creek Trail there. That seems to have fallen off of off of Mary Wilson's radar for right now. I think they have a lot of other programs going on in the summer.
Mhm.
And
That's what we said last month.
yeah,
We-
last I heard, we were talking about doing it in June or July, and we're really not getting any response. So we're thinking that may not happen until next spring.
Well, I mean, we don't have to wait for the NAEC. We could do the Vestal Trail.
No, not for the walk. You're correct.
Oh, okay, okay,
It was for
okay.
the whole, doing the walk as a lead into their Streamscapes workshop.
Oh, are we thinking we're having to move Streamscape Workshop to next spring?
Potentially, yes, because we're not getting any response from them on dates. They were pretty much set to do it in March, and I think that's before all their summer stuff kicks off.
See, but I thought I had heard that it was gonna be in June, no?
Well, that's what I was told too. And when
Yeah.
I went back and I got
Okay.
back to Beth and tried to get some more dates. I think it's actually Mary Wilson that was
It
going
is
to,
Mary, because yeah, it's Kent, one of my, mhm.
not getting anything back from Mary right now. So
All right, let me,
unless you can reach out to her and see. Beth's
we have a
thinking-
meeting coming up. I'll ask her.
Okay,
The Streamscapes, hold on. Okay, so maybe should we think about maybe doing the Potter Park walk in June or July? Ken, do you know when you maybe want to do Wall Park? I don't want to steal your month.
Wall Park's pretty difficult park to walk.
there's, well, if you just kind of climb over some things and.
I mean, if it's not a good candidate, that's okay. We don't have to do it.
We can,
You've walked me back there. It's, and we could show them the
if
chestnut trees.
you pick I'm open. So it's
Can-
just, you just tell me where I'm supposed to be when and I'll be
Well,
there.
the problem with Wall though is where do you park?
You have to park down at the,
So you have to meet down
Yeah.
there. Can you walk off
Depends on
road to
what-
get,
depends on how dry it is.
okay. Because there's nowhere to park right at that entrance road. Which is the only part I've
You
seen.
have to park down at the sports, where the ball fields are, and then you either have to walk up along the road to come in where the gate is, or you get to start off roughing it right from the very beginning, and you find out who can walk and who can't.
Well, you could say it's a challenging,
Yeah. 5 hike.
You could do a
advanced.
winter walk also. I mean, you did one of those at North Park, right?
Mhm.
The Irwin Run, I didn't make that one.
Thing with Wall Park, you have to be a little bit aware of deer season and stuff though too.
Okay. Well, then when do you,
Okay. Hunters.
when, I mean, do you think there is a good time to do it? Do you think it's not a good candidate to haul people out there?
It needs to be dry enough, and then the vegetation's really high.
Right,
and
and
so
poison ivy and,
it's a tough.
well, then
Yeah.
do we want to start with Potter
can-
Park?
You can pick a date like mid-June and see if there's any interest, and if there's interest, I'll be there. It doesn't bother me. I'm worried about what the participants can deal with.
Okay. Well, I'll show up and. get
Yeah,
me,
I've
get a-
not been to Wall Park. I'll come. Mid-June-ish. Okay, we'll start sketching that out then. And
As long as you,
go
as
ahead.
long as you give me a week's notice, I will be
Is
there.
there a particular day of week that works better for you?
I'm good. I'm
You're
retired.
retired.
Every day Saturday except for fat paper stuff.
Involved in a lot of stuff, so it's, it's.
Okay. So Dawn, do you want to take one also, or we want to go ahead and?
Yeah. Yeah, we can do we'll do Potter Park in like July, August, because it has, some decent walking trails that I'll make sure are poison ivy free before the trail, before the walk.
Even the walk-in is a nice walk.
It
Mhm.
is. And the pond is nice. I mean, it's a nice little, so yeah, we'll do Potter Park, maybe like July, August, and they'll be nice.
All right, so we could talk more about those as we get,
Okay.
we'll have those penciled in. Okay, very
They
good.
could actually park across from your house over in that lot on the other side of Oak Ridge Drive.
I
And
know.
Then you could walk all the way up Harmony Trail and into the park, and it'd be a longer walk and it'd be doable if, as long as the neighbors up there don't get a nose out of joint.
Yeah,
But-
I walk up there, but, and nobody's ever said anything to me, but I don't know if we had a group, if anything would be said.
I don't know who owns that. It could still not be their road.
Yeah, there is a new owner, down towards the very end that's amenable, in addition to the,
Adam Butler.
property. Yeah, there's another new neighbor further up on Harmony that is amenable to, I think, what we're trying to do. So, yeah, so things may have changed on Harmony Drive. We should revisit that soon in our effort to enhance the Potter Park experience.
She froze.
Uh-oh, you froze.
Wonder if she knows she.
I don't know. You've been cut off, Don.
Well, that's always been kind of what we're talking about, the missing link between, the trails to the south and the
Right.
trails to the north, right?
No, the obstacle is when you get going north from Vestal, going through that farm. He doesn't want to let people
Right.
connect onto the North Country Trail.
Well, I mean, like some kind of connection from the Wall Park area to the Harmony Park area to the Vestal area.
Well, you can come out Wall, come down Harmony, and go right on Vestal. You can take that around and it'll connect over to this, Blazer Drive.
Right,
So there is connectivity there.
okay,
Now going north, it's more than just the one farm. There's a number of neighbors up on Harmony that have expressed concerns as well,
right.
that used to have signs up, et cetera. So
Right.
two different issues.
To get up to the Rachel Carson Trail, stuff in that area, right? That would connect up there. Sorry.
Okay,
I know
so
that-
anyhow,
It's my ward.
I guess we'll look at some of those community outreach with our own programs. And in the meantime, I'm in touch with Beth Dutton and an AEC, and I'll keep you posted of, her newest ideas. She has ideas regularly, and we managed to work on about half of them. So I'll keep you posted there, but I'll keep in touch with them.
She would be good to bring into when we're talking about doing this, the creek cleanup, is bringing northern area into that too. Because
That's true.
that's kind of their building with.
Well, and it's the whole master watershed program too, and that's what Dawn is involved with. So all these, I'm learning all these groups are so interconnected.
Good.
Some of the same folks, and so, yeah, we can certainly bring Beth in too, if she can add to that.
I think they would be a good, because they can actually make that into almost an educational thing too.
Mhm.
With the invertebrates in the stream and all of that.
Mhm. Okay. All right, that's what I had for community outreach at this point. Miscellaneous items, May McMail tips. Tony has indicated he'll do that for us. And I think he reached out to you, John, for the due date, so. you
Yeah,
could
so
just-
he has that, and he's prepared to do that.
Okay, great. So that's covered for this month. And the next one is something that Dawn brought up too. Now that we all have access to SharePoint, I know she thought it would be good if we start, I guess, uploading some historical type documents, just so we know, Dave's litter programs. There she is.
She's back.
She's back. No, I'm just down to your request that we add some older documents onto the SharePoint site. Is it possible, do we have like old grant requests, any of that information?
I mean,
That-
I uploaded the 2018 stuff.
Oh,
this
is it
evening
all in there? Okay,
Yeah. for
okay,
the that cycle for Wall Park. But
okay.
I have some of like the recycling grants, but those are really boring. That's just numbers.
Okay.
Tonnage.
Just things for, as we keep redoing these things several years later, at least we could look back and see what's been done in the past, so we're not reinventing the wheel, or we realize we have to do things differently. It would be great to have a library of that kind of stuff. So, great, John, sounds like you're on it. Anything else to add to that, Dawn?
No,
Okay, okay. But thanks for making that suggestion. Okay, that's what I had for miscellaneous items. Anything new anyone would like to add for next month that they can think of now? We can, do you want me to go back to you, Dawn, for more more annual conference items or things you forgot?
I'm good so far.
Okay, just let me know. And
Other
next
than
up-
I'll upload to the SharePoint site, the social media stuff that I've put together so that it's there for future projects for other EAC members, but you know, who the community groups are that we're posting with and that sort of thing,
Okay, that's
all
sounds
those
good.
resources.
Then next up is Jack. Your council report.
Lynn Atman was in contact with me relative to the cleanup.
Mhm.
And I guess we had some misses as a town, so I apologize for that. I was involved in part of that. She had requested signs back in February, March. Early March, I know Bob had communicated with our DPW group to actually create 6 signs
What types of signs?
that we would be picking up litter or something of that
Oh,
nature.
publicity signs or
No,
like safety
signs for
signs?
when we were working.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, okay.
And I know they produced 2. They told me they thought y'all had 4. 2 or 4 roll-up signs. There's no
Not that
roll-up
I know
signs.
of.
Okay. Don,
Those were rejected,
rejected. Okay.
previous administration.
Okay. Okay, well, no, then that's good to know because hopefully I'll have at least 2 and I'll go for 6 for the next
Okay.
cleanup. The other part is she said that even the police officer came up and told her how frightening it was at the one spot. So I've suggested to DPW and they're supportive of it. If we have dangerous spots, if we can articulate that ahead of time, they'll have a DPW truck there to kind of slow traffic down. And that, of course, would have the police officer as well. So that, I think, might go a long way to protect our helpers.
Okay.
And I also thank the council and Chief Hawk for the 5 cops that they supplied in the DPW truck. It was just a miscommunications as to what time they were the DPW crew was supposed to be there a half hour early and they weren't. So there was a little bit, it was a new foreman and so it's just what it is. We're over that.
Did we have issues?
I
Did
I
you know
didn't
of?
see anyone from DPW, but I know bags got picked up, so,
Well, I think we're trying to do a little more than that. So
oh, okay,
we'll be a little bit more attentive and focused with the
Oh,
next.
Okay.
okay.
I had also, I don't know whether it was from this meeting or from Lynn, because she tends to communicate a lot. And so I take her seriously and I went out and I had a conversation with the town manager as well as the chief. And the contracts for the tow trucks had already been written because I'd gone out and recommended that they have an exit clause for us if they didn't clean up after accidents.
Okay. Okay.
And it was too late to do that. But I did find out that there is specific language in there that they have to clean up according to all our township ordinances, rules, and one other thing, I forgot what it was. Ordinances, rules, and regulations.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. The chief did go out and he spoke to all 5 of the tow companies and told them of the importance of cleaning up after an accident. And
Okay.
he also talked to Lieutenant Basil to talk to all the officers, or at least communicate with all the officers through email, that they were required to make sure that the tow truck drivers did their job. And they're also, because of the MS4 guidelines, are required by state law to, if there's any spillage of anything, identify that in a report to the state. And if the fire department cleans it up instead of the tow truck drivers, they have that requirement. So
Okay.
we kind of strengthening up what we're supposed to do. Now, not all accidents have police response or tow trucks. Sometimes people hit deers and they leave a piece of their cars there or the deer there. We do have what's it, critter control come get the deer, but they don't. We should talk to them about throwing the bumper in too.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what I was wondering, is we're hauling all those bumpers out off the side of the road. I wasn't sure whose responsibility that was.
It's the tow truck responsibility if there's an accident, and maybe it wasn't enforced in the past or really talked about, but
Mhm.
all 5 companies know that the officers are going to be watching them and their expectations are there.
Okay.
So, and we'll follow up from time to time. I'll ask the chief to just let everybody know that we're watching.
Okay.
Okay.
It's appreciated. Thank you.
The next thing is, that's a good segue, hitting deer to Whitetail Management.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Dan, Ken, and I are all going to head up, I guess, a subgroup of our group here to try to get that thing honed and working the way it should. Jeff Shoneman, the town manager, asked if we could include him, and he's in charge. He's the superintendent of our public works. Great guy, and I think would be a great asset. And I think we should be able to come up with some good suggestions to make it work a lot better and be a little bit nicer for the community.
Okay.
The hunters, I think, have had, the established hunters they had a really bad flavor left in their mouth. And I understand that. I'm a hunter. So
Mhm.
if people don't hunt and they know how this was managed, they think it was fine. But if you are a hunter and you know how it was managed, you can see why
Okay.
so many people were upset with the process.
Okay, so there were some issues with the management aspect of it too. It wasn't just the hunters out looking for trophies. There
Well,
was more to
for
it than that.
instance, hunters put these stands up and sometimes they leave them up all year
Mhm.
and they don't check them for 10 months. And then hunting season comes and they go to check it. And there's a notice on there that it's been removed. You go down to the town to get your,
If I can interject real
Sure.
quick. Any stand, you can't leave them there.
Okay.
They're required, and when I had talked with Public Works before, they had told me that they went through every year and had them come out, although I saw no evidence of that. That stands are supposed to be removed after deer season,
Mhm.
and they can't put them back in until, I believe it's in August.
Okay.
that's a good idea anyhow, because it's not safe because the straps
Close to
degrade.
Well, it also
Hurts the tree.
I was gonna say hurts
Yeah.
a tree. Yeah.
So we've got some discussions. I think
Okay.
it's
But you guys have it under
easy.
control.
I think we've got it
Great.
well under control, because I think everybody's a hunter and
Right.
we understand.
Yeah, and I don't know any of that stuff, so glad
So,
you guys.
well, let's
have that.
see.
The next season of this starts when?
Here, we're special regulations area, so mid-September.
Mid-September. Oh,
First 2 weeks is antlerless only, and then it's regular archery season statewide.
okay.
And they call it antlered and antlerless because they could be male or female with or without antlers.
Mhm.
Even females have from time to time have antlers, so
Oh.
you don't want to get in trouble. It's just what it is. And there's
Okay.
And if you shoot an antlered female, the Game Commission, Janine would love to have that animal.
There's also button bucks. You can't always tell
Right.
that they're a buck.
Mhm.
So anyhow, council did finally vote on our recycling plan for glass.
Oh, okay.
So end of April or early May, we'll be back in the glass recycling business. We'll have a canister or I don't know what they call it, a receptacle for the glass
Mhm.
down here somewhere on town property.
Okay.
And
Great.
that'll be pulled as necessary as it gets filled.
Okay.
That was a
That's
long time coming.
Very good.
I've had a ton of inquiries about that.
I have bags in my garage. I just have been too lazy to
Make
take
sure
to other
they
locations.
have signage so people know where it is too. That's.
Okay.
Because people aren't gonna.
Yeah, they have the cardboard ones down here now, so,
Right.
and people were just, they won't crush stuff and they just throw it in and fill it. It's just
And
like,
and it's going to be a mess.
it's awful.
Yeah, it
People,
needs
you
to
know,
be
miss,
more
there's be
away
broken
from kids
glass.
and all that, but,
Yes,
The adults are taking care of that, so that'll be taken care of.
sure.
No,
Well, I
that's good to know.
I just took a load of glass, 4 bags of glass down to Ross to their bin down there. There's no broken glass anywhere.
Oh, they keep.
There's
it.
no debris
Okay.
inside the containers. It was almost completely full, that I don't know how many
There's hope.
yards that
Mhm.
can holds, but it was full of glass, and I didn't see any bags, plastic bags, cardboard. There was nothing but glass in there.
Good,
Cool.
that's good.
There's
Very
no, and there's signs there, no windshields, no
I would have bet against.
whatever
that.
else,
Mhm. Okay.
but
Judy, you could take your glass there, you can take it over to Franklin Park
Right, and they have
Right.
it in Hampton as well.
in Hampton.
And
just
I'm
in
like
case
dead
you-
center on all those and just haven't.
Just in case you get tired of
Right,
looking at it, you
right,
go
right.
for a
Yeah.
drive,
I
go
know.
get an ice
Get it
cream.
over there.
nice. Great.
So I'll just throw this out. I'm kind of on the town about the Zacchaeus property up there on North Meadow Oaks. Do you know where that's at? Do you know where
No.
Whole Foods is?
Yes.
And then you got Comingo. If you go over there, there's a big plan back in there. And there's a builder that's been building there. And I understand his reluctance to build right now with COVID and nobody wants buildings and he has, and to his credit, we wrote him a note and he's got 2 lots there and he totally cleaned up the 1 lot, but the other lot he's using as a staging ground. And on a staging ground, he's got 2 fuel tanks. And my big concern is what happens if some kids get in there and it just spills. It's just gonna go down into
There's no
Pine Creek.
containment or anything.
Yeah, there's nothing there. So I just sent a letter on that today. I don't know if anybody knows anybody at the EPA or somebody that I can contact to, in case he
DEP.
DEP, just in case he needs to get a little stronger message. I'm
Okay.
willing to make that call if somebody tells me who I could talk to.
You could
I-
probably report that online if you have some pictures,
That
Just-
pictures, yeah.
an inquiry. I mean, a citizen could do that. I mean, you're more than official, town official.
Well, I'm going to try to work through town channels, but sometimes, they don't necessarily listen. So in the event that he doesn't listen, I want to have a plan B. I want to
Oh,
step
okay,
it up.
right.
I don't want to usurp my authority by any means, I really trust our town. I think we've got a fantastic town, great town manager, and he'll do the best he can, but he doesn't control this individual. And
Mhm.
if he doesn't listen, I'm just worried about the consequences.
DEP will have his attention.
Yes.
So
Okay.
if somebody could get me that information, I'd like to have it in my back pocket.
I don't know where to get that offhand.
Yeah, I would just
Do some
start.
Googling.
If you're going, yeah, that's all I would do.
So Nebby, I'll find you something.
Is DEP, are there,
So Pittsburgh, Nebby.
does DEP have regions here or what in the state? They do. So it's,
It shouldn't be that hard to
no,
find something.
But hopefully the tanks are empty. But then again, that becomes a liability. What if a kid goes up there just screwing around, drops a match in or something?
That's not good.
So it's just a constructive nuisance at this point. So that's all I have to say.
can I back up on glass? So.
Yes, sir.
Do we want to advertise that glass recycling is coming? Save your glass, or what do you think?
So PRC is actually working up some stuff for us. Probably we're gonna have some drafts next week.
Oh, okay,
To
all
start
right,
working with that signage up there and just like other like ad graphics, things like that.
yeah.
Great.
I'm just wondering if these cardboard recycling and a glass bin, does that take away from the park? You know, or,
I think the glass bin is actually gonna be up at the soccer field parking lot officially.
Oh, up where the big mulch
Mulch
pile
pile
is.
is-
Yeah, where it
yeah.
is right now.
oh, okay,
Probably not in the middle of the parking lot, but you know.
Yeah.
off to the side
Right.
somewhere.
Oh, speaking of which, I did check out the containers. They're almost full. So,
They pick up twice a week.
Do they?
amazingly. Yeah,
okay,
and just amazingly, just a few years ago, we only had one cardboard recycling bin out there.
no, I'm talking about, we had bins put up
Oh,
with
the trash bins up there for the
with the
debris.
compost because it was just full of debris and people were just throwing it on the ground.
oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's a great idea.
We put 2 containers in there and
Oh,
I
okay.
took my grandkids to play on and they were almost full. So I don't know when they pick
Nice.
them up, schedule that or they just show up.
We can tell Jeff Shannon.
Thank you.
Hey, Jack, I have a number for you. So you can call the DEP. They have a hotline. Know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
866-255-5158. Citizens can report any environmental complaint at no cost by calling that number.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I'm going to give Bob the courtesy of time to do it himself, but I'm an impatient person.
Jack is certainly not a, what's the word? Like a wallflower or something like that. Mr. Get Things Done.
Excellent.
Just one thing with the deer management thing. How do we get different communities, like, you know, the people on Center Oak and Griffith Drive, you know, the properties abut, to get together so that Whitetail Hunter can meet with them? Is there a way that the township can facilitate that?
Well, there's a lot of homeowners associations, and I don't know if we have a record of them.
I think a lot of that would be in the zoning office.
And there's also different internet groups out there. And maybe that's the key, you know, we have to get, you know, little sub communities together
Mhm.
and meet with Whitetail and get
That's-
them a little more engaged.
I think that's the way we need to move on this, is to get like having a community get together. And so that people can understand what's going on, that they don't have to allow hunting on their property, but they'll let somebody drag a harvested deer across the property or whatever. But just getting that, because
I don't think
it's
people
difficult.
really understand the situation. Like you said, they're emaciated because there's so many right now. They don't have any natural predators.
Yeah.
And
cars.
yeah, cars and, you know, it hurts people too.
Mhm.
So
And do you want us to put some social media posts out? The community groups, I think that Jack was referencing, if you get together with me or John, we can make a graphic to give out to the different social media community groups to post, to try to get folks to contact you or whomever.
I think this needs to have the suburban whitetail hunters have to be part of this process. So until we have, you know, Mike's buy-in on that, I don't want to go ahead until
Okay.
they're in agreement on it.
September's a good piece away. So give us an opportunity to get organized and then we'll come up with a game plan.
Wait for their gardens to get eaten. That'll Perk them up
Fire
a little
everybody
more.
up, yeah.
They know when your tomatoes just ready to pick.
Mhm. And you think you've made it, it's one more day
And they come out and take one bite. They don't even eat the whole thing. If they ate the whole thing, you'd feel like I did something, but they take one bite.
the chipmunks do this damn thing to my strawberries.
They're easier to catch though.
Okay, any other business?
That's it.
If not, no public for comments, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion we adjourn.
Second,
I'll second.
Second, all right, all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you.
So I get one of those little traps, those
Yeah,
friendly,
Roberts.
yeah, and I'll catch like